When I say God, I'm not referring to some distant deity sitting on a cloud. No, the God I speak of is the divine presence within you, your own wonderful human imagination. This God power resides in the very depths of your being, waiting to be recognized and harnessed. Many of you have come here tonight feeling burdened by worries and doubts. You carry the weight of unfulfilled desires, unresolved problems, and seemingly impossible situations. But I tell you this, the very act of worry is a misuse of your creative power. When you worry, you are imagining, yes, imagining the very things you do not want to experience. And as we know, imagination creates reality. So tonight, I invite you to embark on a grand experiment. Give your desires, your problems, your impossible situations to God, to your imagination, and then stop worrying about them. This may seem counterintuitive, even irresponsible to some of you, but I assure you it is the most powerful and effective thing you can do. Let me explain how this works. Your consciousness, your I am, is God. It is the only creative power in the universe. When you say I am, you are invoking this creative force. And whatever follows that I am becomes the mold into which this creative power flows. So when you say I am worried, or I am sick, or I am broke, you are literally creating those states in your reality. But when you say I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am loved, you set in motion the creative forces that will bring these states into your experience. Now, giving it to God means turning your desire over to your imagination. It means creating a scene in your mind that implies your desire is already fulfilled. You see, your imagination does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. To your imagination, an vividly imagined is as real as an event you physically experienced. So, if you have a health concern, instead of worrying about it day and night, give it to God. Create a scene in your imagination where you are the embodiment of perfect health. Feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude of being completely well. Make this scene as vivid and as real as an event. If you're facing financial difficulties, instead of constantly fretting about bills and debts, give it to God. Imagine a scene where you are financially abundant. Feel the security, the freedom, the generosity that comes with having more than enough. Make it real in your imagination. If you're longing for a loving relationship, stop worrying about being alone. Give it to God. Create a scene where you are deeply loved and cherished. Feel the warmth, the connection, the joy of being in a fulfilling relationship. Live in that state in your imagination. The key here is to make these imaginal acts so vivid, so real, that when you open your eyes, you almost expect to see the physical manifestation right in front of you. And here's the crucial part. Once you've done this, you must stop worrying. You must have complete faith that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. This is what it means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the unfailing creative power of your own wonderful imagination. And then you are stepping back, relinquishing control, and allowing that power to work in ways that your rational mind cannot conceive. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, how can simply imagining something make it real? Let me assure you, this is not mere positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is a fundamental law of consciousness. Your imagination is the very workshop in which your life is shaped and formed. Everything that exists in your world was once only imagined. The clothes you're wearing, the chair you're sitting on, the building we're in, all of these were first conceived in someone's imagination before they became physical realities. Your entire life, your job, your relationships, your home, your state of health, all of it is the result of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. So when I tell you to give it to God and stop worrying, I am inviting you to put this principle to the test in your own life. I am challenging you to take whatever seems impossible in your life right now and hand it over to the God within you, your imagination. Let's take a moment to really let this sink in. Close your eyes, if you will. Take a deep breath. Now bring to mind something in your life that has been causing you worry and anxiety. Something that seems impossible to resolve or achieve. Got it? Good. Now, instead of dwelling on the problem, I want you to create a scene in your mind that implies this situation is already resolved. What would you see, hear, and feel if this impossible situation had been miraculously solved? Who would you tell? How would you celebrate? Create this scene in as much detail as you can. Make it so real that you can taste it, touch it, smell it, feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude that would accompany this realized desire. Let every cell in your body vibrate with the assumption that this is now your reality. Now open your eyes. How do you feel? Different, don't you? This is the power of giving it to God. You have just planted a seed in the fertile soil of your imagination. And like any seed, if you do not dig it up with doubt and worry, it must grow into your physical reality. This is the true meaning of faith. It's not about believing in something despite evidence to the contrary. True faith is the evidence of things not seen in the physical world, but felt and experienced as real in your imagination. When you give something to God and stop worrying, you are exercising this kind of faith. You are declaring to the universe, it's done. And then you go about your life from the assumption that what you have imagined is now in the process of becoming your physical reality. Now I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Neville, what about action? Don't we need to do something to make our desires come true? And to this I say, inspired action will flow naturally from your changed state of consciousness. You see, once you have truly given your desire to God, once you have felt it as real in your imagination, you will naturally begin to think, feel, and act in accordance with that new reality. You won't have to force yourself to take action. The right actions will occur to you and you will find yourself naturally compelled to take them. This is why I emphasize the importance of the state of consciousness. Your actions are always in alignment with your dominant state of consciousness. So instead of trying to change things by sheer force or willpower, focus on changing your state of consciousness through the use of your imagination. Let me give you a personal example. Many years ago, I found myself in New York City with no money and no job prospects. The rational thing to do would have been to pound the pavement, knocking on doors and handing out resumes. But instead, I gave it to God. I imagined myself sleeping in my own apartment. I felt the comfort of the bed, the softness of the pillow. I heard the sounds of the city outside my window. I smelled the fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. I made this scene so real that when I opened my eyes, I was almost surprised to find myself still in my current circumstances. And then I stopped worrying about it. I relinquished all anxiety about my situation. I lived from the assumption that I was now a man with a comfortable home in the city. Within a week, I received a phone call from an old acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in years. He offered me a job that not only paid well, but also provided an apartment as part of the compensation. The impossible had become possible, not through my own striving, but through giving it to God and stopping the worry. This, my dear friends, is the secret I want to impart to you tonight. Give it to God and stop worrying. He will do the impossible. But remember, this God is not outside of you. It is your own wonderful human imagination. Now, some of you might be wondering, but what if what I want is truly impossible? What if it goes against the laws of nature? To this I say, who are you to decide what is possible or impossible? The history of human achievement is filled with examples of people accomplishing what was once thought impossible. Flight was once thought impossible. Space travel was once thought impossible. Instant global communication was once thought impossible. Yet here we are, living in a world where all these impossibilities are now commonplace realities. Your imagination is not bound by the so-called laws of nature. It operates in a dimension where all things are possible. When you truly give your desire to God, to your imagination, you are tapping into this limitless realm of possibility. So I urge you, do not limit yourself by deciding what is or isn't possible. Your only job is to imagine the end result you desire and to feel it as real. Let the God within you, your imagination, figure out the how. Now, let's address another common concern. Some of you might be thinking, but Neville have tried this before and it didn't work. If this is you, I want you to consider something. Did you truly give it to God? Did you really stop worrying? You see, many people think they're applying this principle when in reality, they're still holding on to their old beliefs and worries. They imagine their desire for a few minutes and then spend the rest of the day worrying about their current circumstances. This is not giving it to God. This is like planting a seed and then immediately digging it up to see if it's growing. You must have patience and unwavering faith. You must persist in the assumption that what you have imagined is now a reality, even when your physical senses tell you otherwise. Remember, the physical world is a shadow, a reflection of what you have been imagining and assuming to be true. It takes time for the physical to catch up with the imaginal. But I promise you, if you truly give it to God and stop worrying, the physical must and will conform to your imaginal act. Let me share with you another principle that will help you in this practice. Your desire, once imagined as fulfilled, has no power to realize itself unless you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. So it's not enough to simply visualize what you want. You must feel it as real. You must live from the assumption that you already have what you desire. This feeling, this assumption is the secret that makes the difference between idle daydreaming and actively creating your reality. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are aligning yourself with the reality where your desire is already a fact. You are tuning your consciousness to the frequency of that reality. And like a radio tuning into a specific station, you will begin to pick up and experience the elements of that reality in your physical world. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, how can I feel something is real when all the evidence in my physical world tells me otherwise? This, my friends, is where the true test of faith comes in. You must be willing to deny the evidence of your senses. You must be bold enough to imagine and feel a reality that contradicts your current circumstances. This takes courage. It takes practice. But it is the very key to creating the life you desire. Think of it this way. Your physical senses show you what has been created by your past imaginings and assumptions. But your imagination shows you what can be, what is waiting to be made manifest through your renewed assumptions and feelings. So, when you give your desire to God, to your imagination, you are choosing to put more faith in the unseen reality of your imagination than in the seen reality of your physical world. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains. This is the kind of faith that makes the impossible possible. Let's take a moment to practice this. I want you to think of something in your life that you deeply desire but have been struggling to achieve. It could be anything: better health, financial abundance, a loving relationship, a successful career. Whatever it is, bring it to mind now. Now, instead of focusing on the lack of this thing in your life, I want you to create a scene that implies you already have it. Make it as vivid and as real as you can. See it, hear it, feel it. Let every cell in your body resonate with the assumption that this is now your reality. As you do this, you may notice your mind trying to interrupt with doubts and objections. This is normal. Your rational mind, conditioned by past experiences and current circumstances, will try to pull you back to your old reality. But remember, you are more than your rational mind. You are a divine created being made in the image of God. So when these doubts arise, gently but firmly set them aside. Return your focus to the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Bask in the joy, the relief, the gratitude of having what you want. Let this feeling soak into every fiber of your being. This, my friends, is what it means to give it to God and stop worrying. You are entrusting your desire to the infallible creative power of your imagination. You are relinquishing control to a higher power, the God within you. Now, here's the crucial part. Once you've done this, you must persist in this new assumption. You must live from the state of the wish fulfilled. This doesn't mean you deny your current circumstances. Rather, you acknowledge them as the shadows of past imaginings while putting more faith in your new imaginal act. This persistence is key. You see, most people give up too soon. They may imagine their desire for a day or two, and then when they don't see immediate results, they conclude that it doesn't work. But remember, creation is finished. Your imaginal act is instantly created in a dimension beyond space and time. It then begins to work its way into your three-dimensional reality. How long this takes depends on many factors, including the naturalness of the state to you and your ability to persist in your new assumption. But I promise you this, if you truly give it to God and stop worrying, if you persist in the assumption that your desire is now a fact, it must externalize itself in your world. Now I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, I've been hurt before. I've been disappointed. How can I trust in this process? And to this I say, the very fact that you can imagine it means it's possible for you. You see, you cannot desire something that is not already within you to fulfill. The desire itself is proof of your capacity to realize it. Your imagination is showing you a possibility that already exists within you. Your job is simply to bring it forth through your assumption and faith. Think of it this way. When you plant a seed in the ground, do you worry about how it will grow? Do you dig it up every day to check on its progress? Of course not. You trust in the invisible processes of nature to bring forth the plant in due time. The same principle applies to the seeds you plant in your imagination. When you give your desire to God, when you plant the seed of your imaginal act, you must trust in the invisible, unfailing processes of creation to bring it forth in your physical reality. This trust, this unwavering faith, is what allows the miracle to unfold. It creates a clear channel through which your imagined reality can flow into your physical experience. Worry, doubt, and anxiety only serve to muddy this channel and delay the manifestation of your desire. So I urge you, give it to God and stop worrying. Trust in the creative power of your imagination. Have faith in the law that states whatever you assume and feel to be true must and will objectify itself in your world. Now, some of you might be wondering about the role of action in this process. You might be thinking, but Neville, surely we need to do something to make our desires come true. And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your changed state of consciousness. You see, once you have truly assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will naturally begin to think, feel, and act in accordance with that new reality. You won't have to force yourself to take action. The right actions will occur to you, and you will find yourself naturally compelled to take them. This is why I emphasize the importance of the state of consciousness. Your actions are always in alignment with your dominant state of consciousness. So instead of trying to change things by sheer force or willpower, focus on changing your state of consciousness through the use of your imagination. Let me give you another example from my own life. Years ago, I desired to travel to Barbados, but I had no money for such a trip. The rational thing would have been to start saving money. to look for better job opportunities, to perhaps even give up on the idea altogether. But instead, I gave it to God. I imagined myself in Barbados. I felt the warmth of the sun on my skin, heard the sound of the waves crashing on the shore, smelled the salt in the air. I made this scene so real that when I opened my eyes, I was almost surprised to find myself still in New York. And then I stopped worrying about how it would happen. I relinquished all anxiety about money or travel arrangements. I lived from the assumption that my trip to Barbados was a done deal. Within a matter of weeks, an opportunity presented itself that I could never have conceived of with my rational mind. A friend offered me a job that required travel to, you guessed it, Barbados. Not only was my trip fully paid for, but I was also compensated for my time there. The impossible had become possible, not through my own striving, but through giving it to God and stopping the worry. This, my dear friends, is the power that lies within each and every one of you. It is the power to create your reality through the use of your imagination. When you give your desires to God, to your imagination, and truly stop worrying, you open yourself up to infinite possibilities. You allow the creative power of the universe to work through you in ways that your limited, rational mind could never conceive. So tonight, I challenge you to put this principle to the test in your own life. Take whatever seems impossible right now, whatever has been causing you worry and anxiety, and give it to God. Create a scene in your imagination that implies your desire is already fulfilled. Feel it as real. Live from that assumption. And then let go. Stop worrying about how it will happen. Trust in the unfailing creative power of your imagination. Remember, the world is your imagination pushed out. Everything you see around you, everything you experience is a reflection of your past thoughts and assumptions. By changing your imagination, by giving your desires to God and living from the assumption of the wish fulfilled, you set in motion a new chain of causation that must result in the realization of your desire. As you leave here tonight, I want you to carry with you this profound truth. You are the operant power in your world. Your imagination is God in action. When you give your desires to this God and stop worrying, you align yourself with the creative power of the universe. You open yourself up to miracles. You make the impossible possible. So go forth from here with a new understanding of your own divine nature. Know that within you lies the power to shape your reality. Use your imagination wisely and lovingly. Give your desires to God, stop worrying, and watch as the miraculous unfolds in your life. For truly with God, with your imagination, all things are possible.
You are the creator of your reality, and everything you experience in this world is a product of your own assumption. Nothing exists outside of you that has the power to define who you are, except for the thoughts and beliefs that you choose to hold. The world you see, the circumstances that surround you, and the people you meet are not separate from you. They are all reflections of the inner workings of your mind. Your consciousness is the fabric from which all things are made, and it is through your awareness that you bring the unseen into the visible world. The universe does not respond to force, to struggle, or to effort. It responds only to the quiet power of your thoughts, the power of your assumptions, and the power of your beliefs. If you can change what you believe, if you can alter the assumptions you hold about yourself and your life, you will change your world. The only true law that governs all things is the law of assumption. What you assume to be true becomes true in your experience. If you believe that life is a struggle, it will be a struggle. If you believe that abundance is yours, then it must be yours. If you assume that you are worthy, deserving, and capable of all the good things you desire, then your life will unfold in perfect harmony with that assumption. But it is not enough to wish for change. You must live as though the change has already occurred. You must walk through life with the understanding that you are already the person you wish to become. The key to transformation lies in embodying the state of being that you wish to experience. You do not have to wait for the world to change before you change. The world changes when you change your state of being. When you see yourself as whole, complete and perfect in every way, that is how you will experience the world. It is not the world that dictates who you are, it is you who dictates what the world will be. Your assumptions are the lens through which you view reality. If you see a world of lack, limitation and struggle, it is because that is the assumption you are holding. If you see a world of abundance, love and opportunity, it is because you have assumed that is the nature of reality. The world will always conform to your assumptions, no matter how absurd they may seem at first. The moment you assume a new reality, that new reality begins to take shape and become evident in your experience. The process is not magical, it is natural. The law of assumption is as certain as the law of gravity. We are living in a world where most people have been taught to look outside of themselves for answers, to seek validation from others, and to believe that their circumstances define their worth. This is the great illusion. Your worth is not determined by anything outside of you. It is determined by your inner state, by your awareness of your own divine power. The moment you recognize that you are the master of your own destiny, that you have the power to shape your reality, you will begin to experience a new kind of freedom. Freedom from the limitations of time, space, and circumstance. Freedom from the constraints of the past. Freedom from the chains of doubt and fear. When you begin to assume the reality that you desire, the entire universe conspires to bring it into being. The people, the events, the opportunities, and the resources that you need will begin to align themselves with your inner vision. You are the master of your fate, the creator of your experience. You do not have to fight, struggle, or compete for what is already yours. You must only assume that it is yours, and it will come to you in perfect divine timing. There are no obstacles in the universe except for the ones you place in your own mind. The only limitations you experience are those that you believe to be true. Once you recognize that there is no force greater than your own consciousness, you will understand that nothing is impossible. Every limitation is self-imposed. You are not bound by the past, the present, or the future. Time is but a concept, a construct of the mind. You have the power to transcend time, to go beyond the limitations that have been placed upon you. When you believe in your ability to shape your own reality, time bends to your will, and you can experience everything you desire as though it has already happened. The first step to manifesting your desires is to assume that they are already yours. When you pray, when you speak your desires into existence, do so with the absolute certainty that it is already done. Do not wait for external circumstances to change before you believe. Your belief creates the circumstances, not the other way around. The world is not waiting for you to be ready. It is waiting for you to recognize the power within you. It is waiting for you to claim your divinity, to claim your sovereignty over your own life. Do not doubt for a moment that you are worthy of the life you desire. Your worth is inherent. It is not something you must earn, achieve, or prove. You are worthy because you exist. The divine spark within you is the source of all creation. When you recognize this truth, you will no longer settle for less than what you truly desire. You will no longer allow the world to dictate your limitations. You will stand in the power of your own being, knowing that you are a limitless creator. When you begin to live from this place of inner knowing, the world will shift to meet you. People will be drawn to you, opportunities will arise, and the things you once thought were out of reach will come to you with ease. You will no longer struggle, because you will understand that you are not working to make things happen. You are simply aligning with the flow of divine abundance that is always available to you. You are no longer a passive participant in your life. You are an active creator. The key is to remain steadfast in your assumptions. Do not let the appearance of things fool you. The world is malleable, and it responds to your thoughts. If you assume that your desires are already yours, you will see evidence of that assumption in the world around you. If you hold the belief that you are wealthy, healthy, loved, and successful, those things will begin to manifest in your experience. Your external world is a reflection of your internal state. Change your inner state, and the outer world must change to match it. There will be moments when doubt tries to creep in, when the world appears to be stubbornly resistant to your assumptions. But remember, the world is not the source of your power. You are. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality. Your beliefs are the builders of your world. When you encounter resistance, simply reaffirm your assumption. Do not give in to the temptation to see the world as it appears. See it as you desire it to be, and the world will eventually align with that vision. This is the nature of consciousness. It is always becoming. You are always becoming, and your life is the result of what you have assumed about yourself and the world. You do not need to strive or struggle to create change. You only need to assume the change you desire, and it will become manifest. The world does not operate on the basis of hard work or effort. It operates on the principle of assumption. Assume the reality you wish to experience, and it will unfold naturally, effortlessly, and in perfect divine timing. To understand this, you are the creator of your reality. The world is not shaping you, you are shaping the world. Everything that comes into your experience is a result of your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. You have the power to change anything in your life by changing your assumptions about it. Your life is your creation. If you do not like what you see, change the way you are seeing it. If you do not like what you are experiencing, change the assumptions you are holding. The moment you shift your consciousness, the world shifts with you. There is no limit to what you can create, because there is no limit to the power within you. Do not wait for the world to change first. Change your assumptions and the world will follow. The only reality that is real is the one you create in your own mind. Everything you desire is already yours. Claim it now and see the world unfold in ways you never thought possible. The power is yours. The world is yours. You are the creator, and your life is a masterpiece waiting to be painted. Take the brush in your hand and create the life you truly desire. Let your imagination be the soil in which the seeds of your desires are planted. Do not merely observe the world around you. Enter into the world within you, where all things are born. That invisible world, though unseen by the physical eye, is more real than what you now call reality. Your senses will try to convince you otherwise, but they are only echoing your former assumptions. They report only what you have formerly believed to be true. Now, when you shift your assumption, when you dare to persist in a new belief, your senses will yield. They must, for the senses are servants, not masters. The imagination is the doorway through which your desires become tangible. You are not a victim of what you observe, you are the origin of it. All change begins within. And it begins with the decision to believe differently, to see differently, to feel differently. You must feel the reality of the wish fulfilled. You must make it real in your imagination before it becomes real in your life. And once you have seen it within, you must live as though it is already so, regardless of the evidence around you. For faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, and it is that loyalty that calls it into manifestation. You will be tempted to return to the old story, to respond to appearances as if they have power over you. But appearances are shadows of past thoughts. They are not causative. They are echoes, not songs. They are ripples, not stones. The moment you claim a new identity, a new story, a new state of being, you begin the process of resurrection. You raise the dead assumptions to life and watch as they shape the world around you. It is not arrogance to claim what is yours by divine right. It is obedience to truth. The truth that you are what you assume yourself to be, and that you become what you persist in believing. Do not ask how it will come. The how is not your concern. The bridge of incidents that will lead you to the fulfillment of your desire is already prepared. You do not need to construct it with effort or force. Your only task is to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Know that it is done. and then allow the natural flow of life to carry you from scene to scene, moment to moment, until you stand fully in the reality you once imagined. The imagination is the womb of creation. What you feel within it will be born into time. You are not waiting for it to happen. You are walking toward the manifestation that has already been decreed by your inner world. And yes, there will be days when the old thoughts try to pull you back, when the weight of past conditioning presses upon your mind. But remember, you are not your past. You are not bound to repeat what has been. You are free. Every moment is a fresh canvas. Every breath is an opportunity to assume something new. Persist. Do not let the outer world tell you what is possible. Let your inner conviction speak louder than the noise of the world. You have been given dominion over your life, not because of your effort, but because of your nature. You are divine consciousness individualized. There is no power outside of your own consciousness. No fate, no destiny, no external authority can override the power that lies within you. The only thing required is your willingness to believe, not in wishful thinking, but in deliberate, sustained assumption. To dwell in the end is to enter into the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. It is to move your attention away from what is and to rest it firmly upon what you desire to be. And the moment you do this, a shift occurs. It may be invisible at first, subtle, unspoken, but it is a shift in the foundation of your being. And the world must follow. Let your desire be holy. Let it be sacred. Do not judge it by the standards of others. Do not question whether you are worthy of it. You are. The very desire you feel is evidence that its fulfillment already exists. You would not hunger unless the food already existed. You would not thirst unless the water already was. So too with your desire. It comes because its fulfillment is present within your own consciousness. It is calling you to a higher state, to a greater expression of your true self. Do not suppress it. Embrace it. Live from it. You are not becoming, you are revealing. What you assume is not a fiction you hope to believe in someday. It is the truth that has been hidden beneath layers of doubt, fear, and forgetfulness. To assume is to remember, to step into the awareness of your divine identity, and in this remembrance you reclaim your world. You walk into rooms with authority. You move through life not as one who begs, but as one who declares. For what you declare within will soon echo without. There is a power in stillness, in quiet, unseen moments of inner certainty. Do not underestimate the silence. When you sit in the silence of your imagination and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are doing more than visualizing. You are planting reality. The outer world moves because the inner world has spoken. You do not need to beg for change. You command it by changing your inner state. And you do not command with force, but with assumption, with the gentle, unwavering knowing that it is already done. Allow yourself to feel it now. Not tomorrow, not once you see the evidence. Now. Feel what it would feel like if your desire were fulfilled. Let that feeling wash over you. Let it saturate your mind, your body, your spirit. Let it become your natural dwelling place. And the more you return to it, the more familiar it becomes, until one day you no longer feel like you are imagining it. You feel like you are remembering it. That is when the world begins to bend. And you will notice something extraordinary. The world around you will shift in response. People will say different things. Opportunities will arise where none existed before. Obstacles will dissolve, not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. You rose in consciousness, and the outer world had no choice but to reflect the inner elevation. You did not force it. You became it. Every desire carries its own fulfillment. The moment you accept the desire as yours, you have already received it in seed form. Now it is your task to nurture it with belief, to feed it with imagination, to water it with emotion, and to shield it from the weeds of doubt. Guard your mind as you would guard a sacred treasure, for it is from your mind that all things are born. Live now as the person who has received. Speak now as the one who knows it is done. Act now, not in desperation, but in faith. And when you forget, because you will, from time to time, gently return. Return to the end, return to the state of fulfillment. That is the center of your being. That is your home. Dear Ekar, you do not need permission to believe in a greater life. You do not need anyone's agreement. You only need your own consent. The moment you agree within, the world will begin to reflect that agreement. And it does not matter how long you have believed otherwise. A new assumption, truly accepted, has the power to dissolve the effects of a lifetime of disbelief. This is the miracle of consciousness. It is never bound by time. One new assumption can redeem years of doubt. One moment of inner certainty can alter the course of your entire existence. That is the gift you have been given. The power to change the world by changing your mind. So dwell in the end. Not as a visitor, but as a resident. Let the state of your desire become so natural, so familiar, that it feels strange to imagine life without it. And as you continue to assume, to feel, to live from the end, you will notice that life becomes more effortless, more joyful, more miraculous. Because you are no longer chasing what you desire, you are embodying it. And what you embody must come into form. That is the law, that is the truth. You are always in a state. You may not have called it that before, but every moment of your life you are dwelling in a particular state of consciousness. These states are not merely emotions or moods, they are entire realities. Entire outcomes, patterns, and possibilities are contained within each state. You cannot experience what is not in the state you occupy. If you are in the state of lack, the world will reflect lack. If you are in the state of abundance, then your life becomes a mirror of abundance. It does not matter what the world says is happening. What matters is the state you are in while you observe it. Because it is not the world that is doing something to you, it is you, through your state shaping the world. Your consciousness is infinite. You can shift from one state to another as easily as you change your thoughts. But many remain in states that no longer serve them because they continue to believe the lie that circumstances are fixed, that personality is fixed, that fate is final. Nothing is fixed. The only thing that appears permanent is what you continue to give attention to. If you shift your attention, if you redirect your focus inward and change your assumption, then all things must follow. But the change must be internal first. You cannot manipulate the outer world into changing. You must become the version of you who no longer needs the change, because the change has already occurred in consciousness. And when you do this consistently, a quiet confidence grows in you. Not the confidence that comes from ego or superiority, but the divine confidence that knows who it is and needs no permission to exist. This confidence does not waver when things seem slow. It does not shrink when the outer world looks unchanged. It is rooted in the truth that what has been accepted in imagination is already real. You do not wait for proof, you become the proof. And so you begin to think from the end. You begin to walk as the one who already possesses, already knows, already is. And this is not about pretending, it is about remembering your true identity, the one that is not swayed by circumstances, not limited by appearances. The more you return to the state of the wish fulfilled, the more natural it becomes, until eventually you no longer even call it a wish. It is simply your way of being. Every person, every situation, every condition you meet is an outpicturing of your state. You do not have to change them. You only need to change your own self-concept. What do you believe to be true about yourself, about life, about others? These are the silent assumptions that create your experience, and they are yours to revise. If you have believed something disempowering, you can believe differently now. You can rise into a new state, and the former things will fall away like shadows at sunrise. They have no life of their own. They only live through your focus. And so choose deliberately, choose boldly, choose with the authority of one who knows that life does not happen to them, it happens through them. And do not be afraid to assume greatly. Let your vision expand, let your desires be vast, not because they will make you more, but because they already reflect the more that you are. Your desires are not random, they are revelations of your potential, they are messages from the higher self, showing you what you are capable of embodying. Do not minimize them, do not explain them away, embrace them, live into them. It is your inner speech that determines the outcome. The conversations you have with yourself are more powerful than any action you can take. For what you consistently say to yourself becomes the mold through which your reality is poured. Speak to yourself as one who is already victorious. Declare to yourself that it is done. Refuse to argue for your limitations. Do not indulge in self-pity or replay old narratives of failure. They may feel familiar, but they are not true. What is true is what you decide now. Your assumptions need not be logical. They only need to be accepted. There is no virtue in trying to figure out how the impossible becomes possible. The greater wisdom is in knowing that what you assume and persist in must become fact. You do not have to bend the world to your will. You only need to bend your will to a new assumption. And in doing so, you bend the world without effort. For the outer world is always obedient to the inner. And as you begin to see evidence of your new state, remain humble. Not the humility of shrinking, but the humility of understanding that you did not achieve this through force. You allowed it by aligning with your higher self. You aligned with truth, and truth always manifests itself. The old life begins to dissolve, and the new life emerges, not because you earned it, but because you finally assumed it. You no longer ask, will it happen? You declare, it is happening, it is now, it is done. You must become one with the desire. There is no separation between you and that which you want, except for your own belief in the separation. The moment you stop desiring from a place of lack and begin to assume from a place of possession, you close the gap. The wish fulfilled is not something you chase, it is something you dwell in. Feel the joy now. Feel the peace now. Let it live in your body. Let it breathe through your words. Let it inform every action, every choice, every moment. For you are not becoming, you are remembering. You are realigning. What you seek is seeking you. What you imagine with love, with conviction, with confidence, must return to you in form. The process is not personal, it is principle. It does not reward some and withhold from others. It simply reflects. The world is a mirror, and you are the face. What you show it, it returns. So show it your strength, show it your wholeness, show it your worth. And when the moment comes, and it will, when your world has changed, when the thing you once imagined now stands before you in full detail, you will smile, not in surprise, but in recognition. You will know it not as a stranger, but as something familiar. For you saw it first within. You entertained it. You embraced it. You became it. And now it has become you. This is the way of all creation. Nothing begins on the outside. All things begin within. And so long as you hold fast to the state of the wish fulfilled, so long as you continue to imagine from the end, the world cannot help but conform. It must. It always does. There is no other law. There is no other truth. Remain faithful, then, to the vision within you. Return to it when doubts arise. Reaffirm it when the senses contradict it. Rejoice in it even before it appears, and let your faith be active, not passive. Let it be the daily assumption that your world is already new, already radiant, already whole. Because it is. And you, being one with the power that made all things, have the authority to speak it so. And so, let us now rest in the awareness that all we have ever sought already lives within us. The power to assume, to feel, to believe, this is the true creative force. You need not look to the world to give you signs, for you are the sign, you are the cause. As you dwell in the end, you rewrite your story, not through striving, but through silent knowing. You no longer chase the dream, you awaken to the truth that you are the dreamer and the dream is yours to shape. Remain faithful to the unseen. Persist in the assumption. Feel it real, for the moment you do, the world will bend to match it. This is the secret of life. This is the mystery revealed. All is within, all is now, all is you.
I want to share with you the sacred method I use to manifest anything I desire. It is simple, it is quiet, it is as ancient as thought itself, and yet as immediate as the next breath you take. I call it scripting, but it is not mere journaling, not idle daydreaming, and it is not repetition for repetition's sake. It is the conscious, deliberate assumption of the wish fulfilled, written into life with the hand of faith and the ink of imagination. I ask you to set aside what you think you know about writing. For this is not about words. This is about energy, about vibration, about becoming. You see, man is always manifesting. There is no moment in which you are not projecting, molding, shaping the clay of your reality. The only difference is whether you do it consciously or unconsciously. Most people live life in reaction to the world. But the secret I wish to impress upon you is this: the world reacts to you. And scripting is how I choose to lead the dance. Let me take you back to when I first discovered this method. Not in theory, but in practice. I had heard of writing affirmations, visualizing, and imagining, but I found that I was too easily distracted. I would try to imagine, but my mind would wander. I would repeat affirmations, but they felt hollow. I needed something tangible, yet deeply spiritual, something that married the outer and inner worlds. That's when I was led through an inner nudge to try writing a letter to myself from the future, not as an exercise in fiction, but as a decree, a declaration, a divine script written from the state of the wish fulfilled. So I sat down and I wrote not about what I wanted, but from the state of already having it. I wrote as if the miracle had already occurred. I wrote with the feeling that it was done. And as I wrote, I didn't just use my intellect. I allowed my emotions to lead. I became the man who had already received. And I discovered something extraordinary. I could feel the truth of it. I felt the joy, the relief, the satisfaction of the thing accomplished. And I knew in that moment I had moved the wheel of creation. Understand this: imagination is the only redemptive power. Your senses will try to convince you otherwise, but the senses are shadows. The only light comes from within. When I write my scripts, I do not write for the world to see. I write to stir myself. I write to awaken the inner God. I write to commune with the divine I am that dwells in me as me. And I do not ask for things in my script. I assume them. I declare them. I live them on the page. You may ask, how does writing change anything? And I will tell you, it is not the writing, but the state from which the writing comes. It is the consciousness behind the hand. When I script, I move into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I do not write, I want this, or I hope for that. I write, it is done, I am that. I feel this. I see that. I bring my senses into alignment with the invisible reality I am birthing. And the more vivid the script, the more real it becomes. And as within, so without. I remember once I desired a sum of money, not for greed, but for freedom. I did not script about needing money. I scripted from the perspective of the one who already had it. I wrote how grateful I was for the unexpected deposit. I described the feelings I felt when I saw my bank balance. I described the things I was now doing freely because the money had arrived. I described how light my body felt, how I moved through life with a new power, a new generosity. I scripted as though it were already mine. And I tell you, within days, the exact amount came to me through a means I could never have predicted. This is not coincidence. This is law. What is written with conviction in consciousness must externalize. There is no other way. The outer world is a mirror, and your script is the reflection you choose to place before the glass. If you write from lack, the mirror gives you more lack. If you write from fullness, the mirror gives you abundance. This is why the state from which you write is everything. When I script, I make it a sacred act. I light a candle. I sit in silence. I close my eyes and dwell in the feeling of my wish fulfilled. I allow that scene to form within me, not as fantasy, but as fact. I see it. I hear it. I touch it. I taste it. And then I begin to write, not mechanically, but reverently, as though I am writing a letter to God, knowing He is not out there, but within. I do not write to impress. I write to express. I write to feel. And I write to remember who I really am. For you see, scripting is not just about getting things, it is about remembering your divine power. It is about reclaiming your identity as the operant power. Every time I write, I reinforce the truth that I create reality with my assumptions and that all things are possible to him who believes. I do not wait for evidence. I become the evidence. There was a time I wanted to change my living situation. I was in a place that did not reflect my inner world. So I did not script about moving. I scripted from the place I wished to live. I described the sunlight in the new home. I described the view from my window. I wrote of the sounds, the smells, the peace I felt in the new space. I thanked the universe not for delivering it, but for already placing me there. I wrote until it felt so real that I could feel the wood floors beneath my feet. And in less than a month, through a seemingly random conversation, I found myself in the very kind of home I had written about. And I knew then what I know now, creation is finished. All I did was select it. Scripting, when done properly, is a selection mechanism. It is a tuning fork for the soul. You are not creating out of nothing, you are choosing from the infinite possibilities that already exist. Every reality you could ever live is already present, waiting for you to assume it. And scripting is how I assume. I write it, I feel it, I believe it, and I let it go. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It means resting. It means trusting that once I have felt the reality of it, once I have accepted it as done, there is nothing more I must do. The seed has been planted. I do not dig it up with doubt. I water it with expectation. I breathe on it with gratitude. And I allow the unseen hand of God to bring it into form. There are no limits to what you can script. I have written about relationships and seen them mend. I have written about health and seen symptoms vanish. I have written about opportunities and had doors swing open without effort. But I caution you, do not script from fear. Do not script from desperation. Script from love, from power, from peace. Feel yourself into the outcome and write only what you wish to see. The pen is a wand when wielded in the right state. Some may ask, how often do I need to script? And I say, as often as it takes for you to feel it real. There is no magic number. One line, written in the fullness of faith, is worth more than 10 pages of empty repetition. Quality over quantity. Emotion over mechanics. And never script as a chore. Script as a joy. Script as communion. And you will find the process itself is the reward. You must understand the world is yourself pushed out. And the script you write today is the life you live tomorrow. Write wisely. Write deliberately. Write as God would write, boldly, lovingly, powerfully. You do not write to see if it will work. You write because you know it already has. There was a time I wrote of a version of myself I had never yet met. I described him in vivid detail. I wrote about his energy, his confidence, his poise. I wrote of his wisdom, his calm, his joy. I wrote as though I was him. And day by day, line by line, I became him. Not through effort, but through alignment. For what you write again and again in the feeling of truth will etch itself into your being. If you do nothing else, do this tonight. Write a letter to yourself from your future. Begin with the words, I am so happy now that, and fill in the rest. Write as though your greatest desire has already come to pass. Pour your heart into it, and then before you sleep, read it aloud. Slowly, with feeling. Fall asleep in the assumption that it is done. Do this,
and you will move the heavens. Scripting is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is not the words themselves, but the spirit in which they are written. Be not deceived by appearances. The world may not shift instantly, but it must shift. The law cannot be broken. What is assumed with feeling and persisted in must manifest. And so I tell you, as one who has walked this path, who has scripted love and found it, who has scripted abundance and lived it, who has scripted peace and felt it, this works. Not because of who I am, but because of who we all are. We are creators. We are imagers. We are script writers of the soul. And every line you write in faith becomes a law unto itself. So pick up your pen, not to beg, not to plead, but to declare. Write your life as you wish it to be, and know that in doing so, you are not imagining in vain. You are shaping destiny, and destiny always obeys the hand that knows its power. This is how I manifest anything using scripting. Not by force, not by chance, but by feeling, by vision, by conviction. Try it, not to test the law, but to prove it. For as you believe, so shall it be done unto you. And it is already done. Do not worry if your first scripts feel unnatural. In the beginning, I too wrestled with doubt. I would write things that felt distant, improbable, even fantastical. But I persisted, not because I believed in the paper, but because I believed in the principle. The more I wrote from the state of fulfillment, the more I came to embody it. At first, it was a spark. Then it became a flame. Eventually, it consumed the old man, and I rose as the new. This process is not about the intellect. It is not about logic or strategy. It is about identity. You are not trying to get anything. You are remembering that you already are everything. Scripting merely becomes the portal through which your true self steps into visibility. When I write, I do not plan how my desires will manifest. I do not scheme. I do not stress. I surrender to the wisdom of the unseen, knowing that what I assume to be true inwardly must be revealed outwardly in its own perfect timing and form. There was a moment I recall vividly. I had written about a dream opportunity, one that seemed, by all worldly standards, unreachable. Yet I wrote as though it were already secured. I thanked those who congratulated me. I described how my mornings felt now that I had stepped into this new chapter. I described my emotional state, my routine, my excitement, my deep inner peace. I wrote not once, but every day for a week, refining the vision, amplifying the feeling, and most importantly, living it in consciousness. Then one day, out of the blue, I received a message. An introduction was made. A door opened. The very opportunity I had described found me as if drawn by some invisible force. But it was not invisible. It was the force of imagination impregnated with belief. And from that day forward, I vowed never again to live by sight, but by inner vision. This is the secret. You do not have to chase your dreams. You have only to embody them. And scripting is the rehearsal. It is the sacred theater where you play the role until the world catches up to your performance. I do not script to try to fool myself. I script to reveal myself. For deep within, I already know that all I seek is already mine. The world will offer resistance, not because it has power, but because it is slow to respond. It is dense, like a shadow lagging behind the moving body. But it must follow the cause, and the cause is always your assumption. Never forget that. Your assumption is the first creation. The manifestation is merely the echo. So I continue to write, not because I need to, but because I love to. I write about the people I meet, the experiences I live, the abundance that surrounds me. I write of the joy that fills my heart, the synchronicities that confirm my path. I write of a life that overflows with beauty and grace. And each time I script, I anchor myself deeper into that reality. Each word becomes a seed, and my faith is the soil. I have written about health, about seeing my body radiate strength and harmony. I describe walking with energy, feeling light and free. I wrote of waking up refreshed, of my cells humming with life. And as I wrote, something shifted. My habits aligned. My mind cleared. My body obeyed the script. Not because I forced it, but because I finally saw myself rightly. I have written about love, not to attract it, but to become it. I described being in the presence of a partner who saw me, knew me, cherished me. I described laughter, deep conversation, mutual growth. I wrote of ease, of connection, of sacred union. And I did not write from loneliness. I wrote from wholeness. I wrote as one who already possessed the love he desired. And from that state, love appeared, not to complete me, but to mirror me. There is no desire too great, no dream too distant. Scripting does not discriminate. It responds to your state. That is why I urge you, do not write from lack. Do not beg on the page. Speak as a creator. Speak as one who knows. Let your hand be guided by your highest self. Write not to make something happen, but to affirm what already is. When you understand this, you will know freedom. I keep a notebook solely for this purpose. It is not a diary of what has happened, but a declaration of what is true now in the invisible realm. I do not use it to complain. I use it to create. And sometimes I reread past entries, not to marvel at my accuracy, but to deepen my faith. Every fulfilled script reminds me, this works. This is law. This is life. Some may ask, what if I don't believe what I write? And I say, write anyway. Belief is a muscle, and scripting is the exercise. The more you persist, the more natural it becomes. You are not lying to yourself. You are freeing yourself from the lie that you are powerless. That lie is the real deception. What you write in faith is not a fantasy. It is prophecy. When I feel resistance, when doubt creeps in, I return to my script. I write not to convince the world, but to convince myself. I remind myself through every sentence, I am the operant power. I am the cause. I am the source. I am the one I've been waiting for. And that knowing dissolves all fear. Even when outer circumstances seem contrary, I remain loyal to my script. For I know the script is the blueprint. The world is the stage, and time is the unfolding. I do not allow the temporary to override the eternal. I do not let what is visible cancel what is invisible. I hold fast to the truth I have written in faith. I let the vision burn brighter than appearances. There is a joy in scripting, a power, a calm. It centers you, it elevates you. It tunes you to the frequency of miracles. And what is a miracle but a natural outcome of supernatural belief? Scripting is not the source of the miracle. It is the alignment to the source within you. You are not making anything happen. You are letting it happen through you. And so I continue to script, not because I am in need, but because I am in awareness. Not to get, but to give thanks in advance. I script not to manipulate the world, but to release the truth, buried under doubt. Each sentence I write becomes a brick in the mansion of my manifested life. And every mansion begins with a single line. Try this tonight. Write for 10 minutes, as if your greatest desire has already happened. Do not edit. Do not hesitate. Let it flow. Describe what you feel, what you see, what you know to be true now. Read it aloud. Feel it deeply, and sleep in that state. I promise you, something will begin to move. Not because of magic, but because of law. The law responds to who you are being. Scripting is how I become before I see. It is how I walk in the unseen, until the unseen becomes seen. It is how I live in the end, even when the middle is still unfolding. And the more I do it, the more I see that life bends to the clarity of my script. I do not need evidence to begin. I script the evidence. I do not wait for signs. I create them. I do not consult the world. I consult my soul. And in the sacred silence of my journal, I speak the word that goes forth and does not return void. I remember once writing about financial freedom, not in vague terms, but in absolute detail. I described waking up in my dream home, walking barefoot on warm wood floors, the morning light spilling through sheer curtains. I wrote of checking my account and seeing abundance. I wrote of helping others, giving freely, investing in dreams, not just my own, but those of strangers who needed only one yes to change their lives. I wrote of the peace, the certainty, the gratitude. And with every paragraph, I felt wealth move from idea to embodiment. Soon after, opportunities presented themselves, some small, others extraordinary. And they all echoed what I had already written. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a reflection. That's what scripting does. It builds the inner temple, brick by brick, word by word. And once it's constructed inside, life must reflect it outside. Not because the world is obedient, but because you are powerful. Because you are the creator, not the created. You are not here to react to life. You are here to command it, to shape it, to direct it with the authority of your imagination and the clarity of your conviction. The beauty of scripting is that it bypasses the noisy mind. It quiets the voices that say, you can't, you shouldn't, or that's impossible. It allows the truth within you to speak louder than the lies around you. And when you write consistently, with feeling, with faith, with joy, you don't just write different words, you become a different person. The one who already has what they desire. When I began scripting, I didn't know how my desires would manifest. I only knew that they were mine. I treated them as present facts, not future possibilities. I stopped wishing and started declaring. I stopped hoping and started assuming. And the difference was night and day. The shift was subtle, but total. I no longer looked outside to verify my worth. I looked within to express my truth. I wrote about freedom, about feeling weightless in my decisions, uninhibited by fear or hesitation. I wrote of knowing, deep in my bones, that I was always supported, that even when I made mistakes, they led me closer to clarity. I wrote of living from a state of flow, where the right people, ideas and resources simply found me. And they did, not because the world changed, but because I changed. Understand this. Scripting is not a passive exercise. It is not just journaling. It is a spiritual act, a metaphysical declaration. When done with intention, it becomes a conversation with the divine. It's not about tricking yourself. It's about tuning yourself, aligning your inner broadcast, so purely that the universe can't help but respond. It has to. It is law. I have used scripting to dissolve anxiety, to open doors, to deepen relationships, to call in clarity. I have seen friends and clients do the same. The results come when they stop writing as who they were, and start writing as who they choose to be. There's a moment always, when the shift happens. A line is written that breaks something open inside them. It clicks, and from that moment, the rest of the script flows, not from the mind, but from the soul. I recall one woman, heartbroken and confused, who began scripting her ideal relationship. At first, she resisted. It felt fake, even painful, but she stayed with it. She wrote of being seen, loved, chosen, of laughter-filled dinners, lazy Sunday mornings, deep talks under the stars. And one day, as she reread her script, she began to weep, not from sadness, but from recognition. She wasn't mourning the absence of that love. She was finally claiming its presence. And within months, the very relationship she had scripted came into her life. Not identical indeed, but perfect in essence. This is not fiction. This is the divine play. And you are the playwright. What you write in consciousness, you cast upon the screen of your life. So be bold, be specific, be fearless. Do not write small. Do not hedge your dreams. Let them roar. Let them sing. Write as one who knows their word, carries weight. Write as one who knows the truth, makes its own way. When doubt whispers, what if it doesn't work? I reply, it already has. When fear asks, what if you're wrong? I respond, then I'll be wrong with confidence. Because in this game of life, the only failure is forgetting who you are. The only mistake is believing the world over your word. There is no resistance too great, no delay too long, that can override the assumption sustained. The script you repeat becomes the life you live. The more you write it, the more you feel it. The more you feel it, the more you believe it. The more you believe it, the more you live it. And it all begins with the courage to imagine, and to do so consistently. When I script, I enter a sanctuary. The world fades, and the truth remains. I am reminded, not of what is lacking, but of what is eternal. I remember that I do not chase, I attract. That I do not earn, I express. That I do not beg, I declare. My words become worlds. My pages become portals. I do not write for therapy. I write for transformation. And so I write in the morning, before the world speaks. I write at night, when the veil is thin. I write in between meetings, in coffee shops, on planes. I write because the act of writing grounds me in who I am choosing to be. And that choice, made again and again, becomes identity. It becomes assumption. And assumption, as Neville taught, hardens into fact. I am not special. I simply remembered. And so can you. Start today. Write as if, not once, not twice, but until the script becomes so natural, you forget it was ever just a script. Until you walk through your day and realize you are living your words. You are embodying your vision. You are the one you've been scripting all along. You are walking in the echoes of your inner conversations. You are dancing to the rhythm you once wrote down, when no one was watching, when only your soul bore witness to your longing. That script, penned with trembling hope, or bold certainty, is now the architecture of your existence. Do you see now why I say, write not with caution, but with conviction? Because you are not recording what has happened. You are commanding what will. I remember once writing about peace, not the fleeting kind, but the kind that lives in your chest like a steady flame. I wrote of walking through life, untouched by noise, unmoved by chaos. I described how every morning I awoke feeling safe, anchored at ease. I didn't write to convince myself. I wrote because it was so. And days later, I began to feel that peace bloom within me. It moved in first, like a whisper, then a breath, then a presence that never left. My reality obeyed my declaration. Scripting, when done in spirit, is not just a tool. It is a rehearsal for the real. And the more vividly you rehearse, the faster you perform. I have seen people script careers they didn't believe they could ever hold. I have seen tears fall on pages that declared, I am healthy, whole, and vibrant, only for those words to become flesh as healing manifested, seemingly from nowhere. But there is no nowhere. There is only the unseen, waiting for your permission to become seen. Do not wait for evidence to believe. That is the world's way. Your way, the spiritual way, is to believe and then see, to feel and then receive, to assume and then experience. The moment you script from your wish fulfilled, you are touching the eternal, the infinite, the divine within you. And it does not fail. It cannot fail. It simply expresses. Let your scripting be playful, powerful, poetic. Don't worry about grammar. Worry only about feeling. If it makes your heart beat faster, if it makes you smile in stillness, you're doing it right. You are building your world one word at a time, one scene at a time. And your world is listening. Every word counts. Every sentence sends a signal. And the universe echoes back with the exact rhythm you've declared. I have watched people script wealth and receive unexpected inheritances. I have watched others write about self-love and suddenly attract the most nourishing friendships. I've watched the lonely become beloved, the stuck become unstoppable, all because they dared to script not what was, but what must be. There are days, I must tell you, when the old thoughts return, when the past tries to narrate the future. On those days, I pick up my pen like a sword. I write again, louder, bolder. I return to the truth, and I rewrite my reality, again, and again, and again. For I know now, deeply, that every repetition embeds a new identity, and identity determines destiny. You must be consistent. You must be deliberate. Write not from frustration, but from fulfillment. Don't write about wanting. Write from having. Don't script your desire as if it's outside you. Script it as your breath, your birthright. Begin each script by stepping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Close your eyes, feel it, and then write. Let the words flow from that place. That's the secret. If your world doesn't change in a day, do not doubt the method. The seed does not bloom the moment it's planted, but it grows underground, in silence, in stillness, until one day it pierces through the soil and reaches for the sun. That's your manifestation. It may begin invisibly, but it ends tangibly. Trust that. There is no limit but the one you script. There is no lack but the one you write. If you are broke, script wealth. If you are alone, script love. If you are tired, script energy. Not because you are escaping your present, but because you are re-choosing it. And in choosing anew, you resurrect a new version of yourself. So I write, and I write, and I write. Not because I must, but because I may. Because I have tasted the power of assumption, and know it to be true. Because I have lived in the end so often, that the beginning no longer confuses me. I have seen too much to doubt. I have received too much to question, and you will too. So I say to you now, pick up your pen, not as a tool, but as a torch. Light the way ahead, with words that match the life you dare to claim. Write as the master, not the beggar. Speak as the fulfilled, not the forsaken. Declare your reality, not as one waiting to be chosen, but as one who has already chosen. Scripting is not just about imagining. It is about remembering who you truly are, the operant power, the divine creator, clothed in flesh. When you write, do not ask if it will work. Know that it already is. Because the moment you script with faith, you are not writing fiction. You are awakening fact. And the universe, ever faithful, will rise to mirror your assumption. This is how I manifest anything, by writing it into being. Now it's your turn.